unfortunately.
It's kind of, if you look at it straight on, you're going to be like, oh, okay, financial rates or literacy rates could be better. But when you start adding all these layers, you start getting this beautiful picture.
Yeah.
And it's hard to look at it and go, we're not, and it's not an intelligence as emotional intelligence. We're at an emotional intelligence high. We're starting to finally feel things.
Yeah.
But feelings can be deceptive,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I love the Sith, give in to your hate, right? It's like, because that feeling is powerful. When I taught last year in our entrepreneur class, is something we went over. We went over how you're going to fund your dream. Oh, I'll just get a loan. Okay. And I did math on a board. All right, you get $50,000. They want 5% over. Boom.
Yep.
You need this, which means you're paying X over. And they're like, oh.
What do you mean everything isn't profit?
Yeah.
You're like,
No.
You know the one.
Yes.
It's so good, though.
Welcome to this episode of the Can't do that either. Everyone says you need to rebrand yourself. I'm going to be Broody.
Yeah.
2025 Brood.
Do it.
Welcome to Cam and Joe Show. My name's Joe with my good friend Cameron. What's up, dude?
Good morning. Happy New Year and happy Friday, bro.
I know, man.
I just called you Bruddy. I was going to say
Bruddy.
brosif, buddy, Bruddy. It's a new thing.
Bruddies.
It's a new thing. New year, new words.
New Bruddies.
New Bruddies. It's got me and my Bruddies.
Yeah, if you're first time watching, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Let us know your thoughts. Today we're actually going to be talking about literacy rates and basic education and how you probably don't realize how it's actually affecting everything.
Which is scary. And then we're going to sprinkle in some New Year topics, some resolutions, why they're good, why they're bad, why they're scary, but why they're needed.
Well, so New Year's resolution for me, business, to expand business an extra 5 to 10% growth.
5 to 10, that's it, man. Come on now. What do they say? Shoot for the moon, land amongst the stars.
Well, you want me to do 1,000%?
Yeah. Why not? No. For me, I
give myself little goals.
I'm not gonna say that I made the mistake of hiring a mortgage coach, but I hired a mortgage coach, and people are like, "Why'd you hire a coach? You're 7 years into lending." I hired a coach because I wanted to sharpen a lot of my tools.
Yeah.
There's so much depth to lending in general.
Absolutely.
That even in my 7th year, I still feel there are things. I still feel like in lending there is more to learn than I have mastered.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just kind of lock in and refine some of my skills of the trade.
Well, I mean, it's just kind of like every year there's new tax. There's new
100%.
tax laws, right?
Yeah.
You have to know new things.
The second you feel like you know everything, and you just kind of kick your feet up, everything has adapted, and loan limits have changed, and NAR settlements have closed, and this, that, and the other, and there's just so many more disclosures now to understand. So there's new ways of navigating the industry every year.
Tell me, because I'm seeing this pattern pop up everywhere. So when I was at the hospital, I had to do CPR, right? Every 2 years, you had to do a new CPR license.
Yep. Oh, okay. This is the continuing education.
It is
topic.
But anytime that I had to do CPR licensing, they would change one thing.
Oh yeah,
that really didn't matter.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, now do chest compressions, but now instead of you're doing 30 breaths, or every 30 chest compressions you're doing breaths instead of 60. Oh no, now, and you're like,
all right, guys, instead of staying alive, now it's now it's some other song. You're like, but it just worked.
No, staying alive is much,
Staying alive, it's got to stay safe.
But is that how it is?
Appropriate.
But is that how it is?
Yeah. I mean, 95% of the education is the same from the prior year.
Yeah.
So doing every year you have to do an 8-hour CE, 8-hour continuing education, and then an additional 1 to 2 hours for that specific state that you're licensed in, that state's licensure.
That makes sense.
So on average, a bulk amount in the state, the county's loan limits will change and adapt. So you kind of got to stay sharp on that.
Absolutely.
Right? Area median incomes, AMIs, are constantly fluctuating, and a lot of first-time home buyer programs are based on how their income is either at, below, or above area median income, or 80% of AMI, things like that. So you always got to kind of stay sharp with that. But the biggest kind of the biggest mover in an industry like real estate and in like lending is, what are some new tactics and ways to stay in front of potential clients?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So with a continued lean into digital media.
Yeah.
Right. Are you going to spend $500 a month on mailers to 2,000 families in Yuba City?
Sure.
That I know me, and I'm a consumer as well. If you just see a mailer, you're like, meh.
Yeah.
Like mailer, stack up the mailers and they go in the garbage. Knowing that,
sure.
But I continue to see a lot of that happen. It's like, well,
I think there's a
I know
bias.
that there's a time and a place for a mailer. If it's like hey, you're sending one out at the end of the year,
sure.
And on it's going to show January, February, March's things to do in Southern Yuba County, something like that. Great, but if it's just like, here's a mailer. My name is Cam. Give me a call for a loan. That's not more my brand. More on brand for me is, what are other ways, or what are new ways that I can get in front of people?
Sure.
What are ways that I can volunteer? What are ways that I can get out of my community?
Yeah.
I would rather somebody get to know me
through community support.
through community service and support at the food bank, or on Friday in the Park with Brian Davis and that crew, or anywhere through Southern Yuba Association of Realtors and all that they do from a volunteer standpoint, or Salvation Army, or Back the Badge, or whatever, not just, rudimentary flyer. So I think the biggest kind of upside to staying, top of mind, or one of the best ways to stay top of mind, is kind of being a consumer yourself. If you know that people are going to work with individuals that they know, like, and trust, how can you present that? Right. That's why when I say know, like, and trust, surveys have always been super big for me, right? Yeah. If somebody, and if my clients, or if any of my clients are listening, they'll know that I hound them to take surveys. But after post-closing, that's big for me to hear back
what you did, how you can improve
on a client experience.
Yeah.
Because what do I do before as a consumer, what do I do when I'm on Amazon? And if I see 10 very similar products, I'm going to look at reviews.
Absolutely.
And I know that's important. I know that I'm not the only great lender in town, and nor am I the only great lender in this area. There are many. So I want people to get a closer fit and feel for what it's like to work specifically with my team and I.
So what's your goal?
Do reviews. It's a scary goal, but I want to almost double my production from 2024.
Not scary at all.
Which and when you look at that, when you say, oh my, like double, the things you have to do to double your production get you to lock in, and now you're not wasting hours, let alone you're not wasting minutes.
Oh, it's true.
So time blocking, somebody like myself, when you get me in a time blocking format, which my coach has worked intensely with me on, it makes me that much sharper, because now it's not, all right, I've got the whole day to do X, Y, and Z.
No,
you don't have the whole day to do X, Y, and Z. You've got from 9:30 to 10 to do that.
Yep.
But then at 10 o'clock, you're like, sweet, all right. And then from 11 to 12, you have that. And the next thing you know, you're halfway through the day, but you're 70% of the way through the list, because it wasn't like, I'll get to that and then get to that.
Yeah.
And then flipping because I'm a list guy. Like I get it. I'm
very similar.
Get through, forcing myself to do the hardest thing on the list first has been an absolute game changer, because we procrastinate what we fear.
What to you is the hardest? What is the hardest thing on a list for you normally?
The hardest thing on the list for me, a hardest thing on the list for me is probably something that would make me uncomfortable, right?
Sure.
Like, for instance, there was I wish this turned out differently. There was a live escrow up in Butte County. A family got into escrow. The lender just overlooked a whole bunch of stuff. The agent reached out to me and said, hey, is there any way you can fix this? Like, save us.
Help us.
Help us. We're in a bind here. They were like a week into escrow. The other lender was dropping the ball. And I got on the phone with the client, and you know me. I'm an optimist, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But I've learned in my 7th year in lending to now be an optimist, but also a realist.
Pragmatic.
Yeah. But transparent and straightforward, and not over promising, right? Because no one wants that. But ran every scenario under the sun. Even got my good friend Chris Owen, an area manager, on the phone, and we tried to work this file 10 ways to Sunday, and there was just no possible way forward. They realistically should have never
started it.
They should have never gotten into escrow in the first place. There were gaps in employment. We were trying to string other things around. There was no kind of saving grace, co-borrower opportunity for them. So I had to have a phone call with somebody to let them know effectively, hey, mind you, was it our burden or our fault? No, but having to tell somebody, hey, I wish there was more I could do. The escrow that you got into, there's just I don't see a way forward with it. And delivering that news, which was never really my news to give, but to deliver that news is like I need like 3 cups of coffee afterwards to bring me back to normal, because like delivering good news, like last night, my buddy got his offer accepted here in town, bought a beautiful house, and it was 9:30, but I knew he was awake, so I called him. I was like, "Gee, let's go," and he's like, "Oh, okay, like I'm so excited." Yeah. And that, like, dude, I ride that for hours, if not.
Is that why I was getting those pictures at 2 in the morning?
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, my production assistant this morning was like, "Why are you such a crackhead?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "Why were you emailing me about a file at 2:15 in the morning?" I was like, "Well, this is what happened. I went to bed with the whole fam, laid next to Beckham at like 9:30, woke up at midnight, got a good 2.5 hour nap in, and then it's like midnight. And I'm like, I'm going to go get some work done.
I'm the same way. If I wake up, bro, I got to go do something.
Because if you just lay there.
No, and then you're like, maybe I'll go to sleep now. Now I'll go to sleep.
Yeah, and then you're like,
now I'll go to sleep.
12:45, 1:15, you're like, no.
No, that's the worst.
Yep.
Okay, so back on to literacy.
And that's our sign up for the day. No.
Right. No, so for me, when it comes to doing lists, because I love lists, because I think that it helps for efficiency, especially
1000%.
New Year's, trying to get stuff done. Phone calls that I know I'm going to be on hold, to me are the worst.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. When are you going to do that? I'll do that. Because I know there is no, you're going to get you're going to be on, like the ones I've been on hold on. I was on hold the other day for 3 hours.
But was it that banger of a song? You know the one?
Yes.
It's so good, though.
It is.
I kind of crank it up.
Minutes. First 15 minutes, it's good. After that,
I listen to it in my car.
So back to literacy rates. I love how we're like squirrel.
Maybe we'll get to literacy rates next week.
No,
I'm kidding.
No. So ultimately, you've probably noticed this. I've had tons of conversations with people in their about the same age as me, or even younger, going, "Hey, I have no skills. I've got nothing. I've been working."
I don't fraternize with those people.
Wow, you're just
I'm
such a
kidding. I'm
person.
kidding. I love you.
No, but I talk with a lot of people, and they'll be like, "Hey, so I've been a waiter for this amount of time, and I worked in public service here, and I did these things." It's like, but I have no skills. I have nothing to bring to the table.
Yeah. What's next?
What's next? And then they feel hopeless and they feel despair. I respect people when they're like in their 50s and 60s going back to school.
Oh, I love that.
It's like,
I love that.
Go get it, man.
I love that.
But I look at it like
never too late.
Chaos, which at this point chaos would be not having education in something, can be, you can have authority over that by going, nope, I'm not allowing that to be something in my life.
What is the authority over chaos?
Shalom. Mm-hmm. So the reason I bring up all of that stuff is because it's very interesting. We're in literacy statistics. So America being able to read and write is not good.
Scary place.
Okay. I even know that across the pond, I want to say it's up to 10% of the class that graduated couldn't read or write because of California's no kid left behind policy.
Yeah.
So we're not dealing with, and this is something we have to realize, like our generation, when we were coming through, we could look at something and at least we were forced, hey, we're going to hold you back if you don't pass this.
Yeah.
Now it's like, no, we don't want to hurt your feelings. You need to go. Right?
Something that George Bush probably isn't necessarily proud of, but that was kind of when a lot of that started. No child left behind, which means skirt them along.
Okay.
The next thing you know, you're a high school graduate at 21 years old, and all you've ever been, you just been passed on to the next teacher, and you're gonna fail, but it's okay.
Correct.
Here you go. Yeah.
Well,
tough place.
And when there was also participation awards. I hated them. I had 3 older brothers. And so anytime I came home with a participation, we were like, oh, you're not good enough to get the gold. And I was like,
I get it.
Shut up. Right. But pushes you,
Yeah.
right? And it's not being mean. So, okay, we'll play a game because I have it right here on my phone. If you Google,
Let's play a game.
just Google literacy rates.
Yep.
What % of America do you think can read and write?
Oh.
This is
this is sad.
according
This is
to,
probably sad.
AI did the stats.
I
for me on this, but-
well, you said 10% couldn't, so I would put us
Well, that was 10% just here.
Sure.
And California, by the way, has the worst education rates. It's amazing when you open up the door and say anybody can graduate and have no...
0% surprised with the statistic in California.
Right?
Our literacy rate, I hope we're at least 70 to 75%.
Yeah, we're 79%.
Okay.
70,
Thank God.
So 79% of U.S. adults are literate,
Okay.
21% illiterate.
Yeah.
Now, out of that
20% though.
percentage, 54% of adults have a literacy level below 6th grade.
What percentage of adults?
54
Of adults in the
of
US?
adults in the U.S. Out of the 79% again.
Oh.
So
Of the 79%. So it's great to be in the 79%, but then half of the 79 have a literacy rate of a what?
Lower than 6th grade.
That's not good. Wow. What? How did we get there?
What? Sure. Here's a stamp. Think
Yeah.
about when they approved. What happened to the housing market when they approved every single loan that came through? The whole thing ended up crashing.
Yeah.
What happens when you say, hey, guess what? I know you didn't read your book and you didn't do homework, but you have to show as a teacher that you're passing these kids or you won't have a job next year.
Yeah.
So when you're seeking for approval, this is what you get. Don't seek for approval.
Yeah.
Approval comes when you're doing the right thing. And so we keep running into this wall. So let's see, 44% don't read a book in a year. California has the lowest adult literacy rate in the country. California has the lowest adult literacy rate in the country.
Bro.
Okay.
Get me started.
So
Don't get me started.
So all of a sudden, did you know last month was the highest default rate on credit card payments last month?
Highest default rate?
Yep.
In U.S. history?
In U.S. history.
Yeah, I know that usage is up at like a literally all-time high. Well, everything's so damn expensive right now.
Correct.
In this freaking country.
Correct. But there's also, how do you cut costs down? Okay, let's say I have a credit card and I need to cut my costs down. Okay, well, I'm not going to go out to eat as much.
Yeah.
I'm going to get meals and I'm going to cook it at home. Okay, well, the percentage of people that actually know how to cook.
Yeah.
So the percentage of people that cook a meal at home is 50%. The percentage of people that...
A meal per day?
A meal per... One meal.
Okay.
The percentage of people that cook 5 days a week, 20%.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
'Kay.
crazy, but that's... I'm not surprised,
So
unfortunately.
it's kind of... If you look at it straight on, you're going to be like, oh, okay, financial rates or literacy rates could be better. But when you start adding all these layers, you start getting this beautiful picture.
Yeah.
And it's hard to look at it and go, we're not... And it's not an intelligence of emotional intelligence. We're at an emotional intelligence high. We're starting to finally feel things.
Yeah.
But feelings can be deceptive.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I love the Sith. Give in to your hate.
Yep.
Right? It's like, because that feeling is powerful.
Do it. Do it.
This microphone's perfect for saying
is.
freaking do it.
Do it.
So, financial literacy statistics. Yep. So now that we know that 54%.
54% of the 79%.
Yes. So that would be like 35, 36%.
Yep.
Okay. 35, 36% have under 6th grade level.
Yeah.
So 36 plus 21, we're looking at 57.
Yeah.
57% of the country doesn't understand finances more than a 6th grader. Would you trust an escrow to a 6th grader?
No.
Would you trust going to college and grabbing that loan to a 6th grader?
No.
Okay.
Scary.
Right?
Scary world.
So the average, and I was looking at this, luckily financial literacy.
If this isn't a plug for creative thinkers, I don't know what is.
Oh, it's going to be, right?
Okay.
So when you're looking at financial literacy, okay, right now we're actually better than we were this next generation because of TikTok and stuff.
Yeah.
People looking at.
Yeah.
There's an improvement.
Oh, I love that side. I love, like, I follow so many amazing like lenders that are on Instagram and TikTok that will do like these 35 or 40-second shorts. I aspire to this.
Yeah.
That'll do these 35 or 40-second shorts.
Give that info.
That boom. Hey, if you're qualifying for a house, these are the big four. Bop, 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 bop. So best thing you could do right now if you are 18 is save this much per week.
Correct.
For the next 2 years. Follow me for more details. And then
perfect.
You look at it, you're like, that's got 900,000 likes. You're like, oh my God.
Well, because
incredible.
people want to buy a home.
Correct. But nobody ever showed them that in junior high or in high school.
Correct.
And they were that much more impressionable. So now they're having to learn it in their 20s, 30s, or 40s.
So with us being at an all-time high on financial literacy rates, what do you think that is? Over the U.S. And this was based off this.
Why are we now at a higher financial literacy rate? Because people have had to, because everything else is so darn expensive. They're having to dig in and maybe educate themselves more.
Correct.
To survive.
So let's go with that. Higher. What percentage out of 100% do you think is that? And this one's according to I did the
60.
United States Consensus.
Got it.
.org was this one. 52%.
Got it. I wasn't terribly off.
No,
okay.
but 52%.
Okay.
Now let's go back into sixth grader. Okay.
Yeah.
52%. So out of the 76%, we're looking at 35%, 35.5.
Yeah.
Is financially literate.
Which means 65, 64%?
Correct.
Isn't.
So
scary. And then you look at national credit card utilization. Dude, it's so often that I have conversations with adults, grown adults, well into their careers and salaries and 401ks that don't know what they're doing financially because they've never been taught it.
Nope.
And they were never taught it at home. And a lot of them will look back and they'll be like, yeah, I made the mistake of getting a credit card when I was 16,
and I packed it,
and I packed it up, and next thing you know, I owed $3,500 on a $2,500 limit card, and I was 19, and then it set me back a couple years. I'm like, ugh, like there is a better way. There is a better way. Maybe that wasn't the wisest thing ever. Or if you do, here you go. Speaking to potential consumers out there, if you have children that are in home that you can very much monitor between 15, 16, 17, 18, one way you can help them out and kind of jumpstart their credit, if you trust them, is to allow them to become an authorized user on your account.
Yep.
You can have any family member become an authorized user on your account, which means they now have a credit or debit card against your banking account.
Yep.
And they utilize it like a credit card. And every month it's going to kick out a would-be payment or a bill for them. You help them kind of manage their own book. Now they are learning directly that what you spend on this little 2 by 3 inch piece of plastic is actually owed back. But now it's not only just owed back, it's owed back with interest.
Correct.
So which would naturally should show, hey, that if it's a 20% interest, that $1 candy bar, because you didn't pay cash for it, is now $1.20.
Yep.
So you just made that more expensive by 20%.
Absolutely.
But people don't think like that. They're like, oh yeah, but there's this perk if I sign up for this. I'm just like, yeah, there's perks there, but all things.
Nothing is free.
Nothing is free, and all things in moderation. So yeah, very, very good way to help a young person out.
So if you're, and you're probably hearing this and going, oh, I'm not alone. Because I remember one of the most valuable conversations I had was with one of my brothers. We're driving to a job. I was 14 years old, and I was helping with a construction job, clean up. Literally would go up there and just they'd rip something off a house. I throw it into the dumpster.
Yep.
Hey, I made, at the end, you're making $100 a day.
Yeah.
Dude, that's pretty good for a kid.
Heck yeah, it is.
So my brother's like, hey, what are you going to do with your money? I was like, oh, there's this new video game I'm going to get. This. And he goes, okay, we're going to talk about money, bud. I went, what?
Why?
Am I in trouble? Like,
yeah.
And he goes, no. Mom and Dad aren't going to talk to you about money because they don't see money this way. And I went, well, okay. He goes, what do you think a credit card is? I was like, oh, it's a plastic thing. You stripe it and they give you money.
I've seen Home Alone.
And he's like, do you know you have to pay back that money? I was like, you have to pay it back? yeah. And they want
They're not magic.
percentage. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he went through the whole process with me.
Awesome.
I said, what about your car? And he goes, I'm paying it back. I had to borrow X amount of money. He
Was
goes,
this James or John?
this was John. And he told me, this is how I got my car. This is how I got into debt. Here's how I'm getting out of debt. Here's what, and we had this wonderful, 14 years old, had this conversation. And what it did, it made me go, And so I didn't get a credit card until I was 18. And when I did, it was a bank authorized one where it was cash to, you couldn't charge more than you already had. But I built my credit. I think by the time I was 20, I had a 700 credit.
Awesome.
So, but I didn't know, why would I need that? You don't have that conversation. Well, most people never had that conversation.
It's true.
And
very
so.
True. Very true, very evident.
But then it's easy to be angry and going, how dare you not give me that conversation? But when we learn about the literacy rates, and you look at financial literacy rates, chances are high your parents actually don't know either.
Or chances are high it may have, at one capacity or another, had been taught, but you weren't in a spot where you could consume it, receive it, or understand it. Absolutely. So you have to, I mean, if it's just in a book and just in front of somebody, and unless the teacher can make it alive to you, it's dead on arrival. Absolutely. Right?
Well, and that was something I did when I taught last year. In our entrepreneur class is something we went over. We went over, how are you going to fund your dream? Oh, I'll just get a loan. Okay. And I did math on a board. All right. You get $50,000. They want 5% over. Boom.
Yep.
You need this, which means you're paying X over. And they're like, oh.
What do you mean everything isn't profit? You're like,
no. Nope. And so kind of going through that math, they're like, oh, wow. Okay. And then they realized, oh, well, if I'm starting this, there's different ways to start it. Sure. Yes, there are. So ultimately, that's actually on my bucket list. And I bring it up because what I'm starting to do with creative thinkers, realizing this data, we're not dealing with, the next generation needs to be equipped, but this generation needs to be equipped too. The only way we deal with overarching credit card debt is by teaching people how to get out of debt. Like, how do you teach somebody how to care about their body? You got to give them the information. They need to know. How many times have you watched like a documentary and you're like, I did not know that. And now that I know that.
And then it ends and it says, sponsored by Pfizer. And you're like, damn it. They almost got me.
But as soon as you realize what's in your food, as soon as you realize how you're doing your credit card.
Whole different segment.
Well, but it's not though.
Big food.
But it's not. Look at the same statistics we got. Right? 22% of people are cooking 5 meals a week. Which means that 78% of people.
Yep. No, there's a whole underlying, it goes all the way into socioeconomic class from availability of fresh food to that family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That goes into food bank and the needs for food bank and all that.
Yeah.
Because you will see in more fiscally depressed populaces in general, the greater lean into fast food.
Yeah.
And lower quality of life, lower test scores.
Yes.
Leads to, lower academical achievements. It's a really terrible, vicious cycle, right? It really is. So at what capacity or at what range or how quickly can you interject with something different than what these children have been taught, right?
Correct.
And if their mom and dad never had the opportunity to show them fiscal responsibility and all they ever know is, well, my folks had to, move out of our current house because we couldn't buy it and they had to file bankruptcy because they were fiscally irresponsible and this, that, and the other. Odds are, unfortunately, what is being taught to those children is what those children will see as normal.
Absolutely.
Right? So unless some kind of third party, i.e. creative thinkers, comes in and can, I don't want to say save or rescue or interject, enlighten them to a different way or a better way, then they're going to be bound to repeat the mistakes that their folks did.
So I love cooking, and and it's just, you feel better when you cook it at home.
1000%.
Then you also go, man, there's this thought of like, I could totally run a restaurant. What you fantasize about it, right?
Every time I cook a steak, I'm like, I would have paid $50 for that.
Yeah, straight up. And if you would have gone, you would have had an ambiance. It would have been nice. But there's also that I did this, right? There's a pride to it.
Watching like Hannah take a bite, or the kids take a bite, and they're like, I'm like,
yes, you're all absolutely. But I say that because I'll talk to people and be like, yeah, so hey, just cook yourself up some eggs in the morning instead of going out and getting a burrito or something. They're like, well, I've never used my stove.
oh yeah.
Wait, what? I don't know how to cook eggs. Then they're like, check out this recipe I want to make. And then it's like a TikTok video, and you're like, all right. And it's like, I made homemade mac and cheese. Here's noodles. Here's 19 pounds of cheese. 5 gallons of milk.
Yeah, this, that, and the other thing.
70 cups of sugar, not sugar, salt, and then cream cheese in the middle. And I'm like, your heart just died.
Yeah, buddy, you weren't able to scramble eggs this morning. What are you?
Yeah, right? And so the problem is, though, is those trend, and those are something because they don't have a palate.
Yeah.
Right? Why are credit cards surging? Well, it's because people didn't understand how to get their budget in line. And I do understand. Debt is empowering thing as well. Yeah. I'm a business owner. I'm always in debt.
Yeah, correct.
But you want to be.
It's part of it.
So you can have enough.
Spend money to make money.
Precisely.
Gotta do it.
But there's proper ways of doing it. So what I look at is what trends, if we were to look at what's trending financially, what's trending, you'll probably see these want to buy a home. It'll be these big grandiose ideas. Or it'll be these chef videos. Oh, I can cook like that. You can't scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
So what makes you think you can cook like that?
Yeah.
The answer to that is simply, let's scramble eggs. That's all we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're not going to focus on this huge chef meal.
Yep.
One of my favorite shows,
I love that,
for a while was World's Worst Chef or World's Worst Cooks.
Yeah.
And they would be like, if you ever watch that show.
Oh, it's awesome.
Just watching them.
Episodes. You're like, what are you doing?
But then they would teach them, and by the time they were done, they were cooking incredible meals to people.
Which is awesome because you know that they're going to be able to take it home and
teach it to their kids, and it's going to create synergy.
Yep.
So what I'm working on, and what's going to be happening at the end of this month, we'll be starting with financial classes, but it's going to be simple. All right, we're going to teach you how to have a budget. That's it. No judgment. I'm not even going to look at your budget, but we're going to go through the basics, making sure everything's outlined, making sure you understand what's coming in, what's going out, and not pushing yourself to a level and giving yourself a couple $100s of money so you're not stressing yourself out.
Correct.
That's it.
Yep.
And when you can get that in line, then guess what? Hey, I got a buddy who's a chef, and guess what? He's going to teach you how to scramble eggs.
Yep.
Because we have people that are eating out of cans because they don't know how to cook eggs.
Yep.
So we're running the part, even if they had fresh food.
Yeah.
They don't know how to prepare it.
Yeah. That's a whole different conversation for a different day as well.
So
the it's accessible and it's out there, but what's somebody gonna do with a 2-pound bag of bok choy? They don't know what the hell it is.
Well, and then here's the problem we run into as well. So like if you were to, I want to learn more about nutrition. You're going to go down you're either going to go down the YouTube, which is amazing.
That's cool.
Like and subscribe. Right? You're either going to go down the YouTube and you're going to look and you're going to find it, and then it's going to interject with other things, and you're not going to know what information you have.
Yep.
Or you're going to go to a college class. Well, most people look at a college class as daunting.
Yeah.
And then they get bored on YouTube. So TikTok. Well, if you're only getting 60 seconds of it, how much of that is truth? How much of that is that person's experience that you don't have?
Yeah.
And you're aspiring for that experience, but there's no entry point. What we're running into is we have experienced people and zero.
Yeah.
We don't have
a vast and a void between the two.
Huge void
between the two.
So what I look at is going, hey, let's fix that. Yeah. So you want to learn more about nutrition? I'm looking for a nutritionalist to be like, hey, let's just talk about food. What are you actually putting in your body? How does your body actually metabolize that food?
Yeah.
What do you need to do? I have a buddy who's like, he came over, it was his birthday, and one of my deals with, I have a couple people, I'm like, hey, it's your birthday, I'll cook you dinner. What do you want?
Yeah.
I want fettuccine Alfredo. I said, done, I'll make it for you. So I'm getting everything ready. He comes over and he's beat. I said, you all right, man? He goes, yeah, I'm really tired. I said, have you eaten anything today? He goes, well, I had a couple fast food burritos. I had some energy drinks. I had a Snickers. I was like, do you have any vitamins? He goes, I haven't had vitamins in like 3 years. I was like,
yeah, buddy, I can tell.
Here. And I gave him some superfood greens that I have. And I said, here, man, just have 2. He goes, what's that? I said, your body is lethargic. It's craving some nutrients. Just take these. He goes, all right. 45 minutes later, he's like, runs to the bathroom, does his business, comes back, and he's like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. What is going on? I went, dude, your body is without. You didn't have the proper nutrients. And he was just like, I want to live like this forever. So for his birthday, I gave him, I said, here you go. Happy birthday. Here's a bottle of vitamins. He's like, I'm buying.
Super Greens.
And that's it, man. So it's a very simple thing, but it revolutionized the world. And so now he's going to other people going, you got to take vitamins. You don't take vitamins. You know where I was at. And so, but it's so simple. It wasn't like I reinvented the wheel. I didn't create spinach.
Correct. No.
But I think that's where we're at. It's, hey, let me just give you the basics.
Showing somebody just the, like you said, getting back to, before we started rolling, is the importance of getting back to basics.
Correct.
And basics or foundational levels can be seen by many as boring, but there's so much magic to simplicity.
Yeah.
Right? Truly.
Yeah.
There really is. Like, the best meals, in my mind, are made with 4 and 5 ingredients and not 15 to 20.
Precisely.
Right? So you can actually taste whatever it is, right? If it's a steak.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Little salt, little pepper, a good sear on both sides.
Call it a
little
good,
bit of butter, and call it a friggin' day.
Yeah.
You don't have to get all crazy.
So that's what we're working on. Creative Thinkers wise, we're going to be starting classes, and we're planning on going through. If you're interested in teaching, you're a local person, hit me up. I'm all about it.
And
because
getting local people into that.
Yes. Because that's what I want their businesses to succeed as well.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a nutritionalist and you're like, I don't have a lot of clients, it's like, well, why don't you do this class?
Yeah.
This class, we'll have it free. We'll market it. We'll give it out to people because people need to learn this stuff. And then guess what? Now you've got some.
You know what we should do?
What should we do?
Let's plan some February shoots right now live on this podcast. Why don't we do Foodie February?
Let's do it, man.
And for the 3 or 4 Fridays that we'll shoot in February, we'll bring local restaurateurs.
Let's do it, man.
And then while they're here, they can talk about a really simple way to make a X, Y, or Z product.
That'd be amazing.
To bring to the table.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
Force them to bring it so we get to eat it ourselves. At minimum, we get breakfast covered for 4 days.
Got it.
Angles,
okay.
Bro.
Angles. No.
Angles on everything.
I'm working on my angles. That's
exactly.
I'm polyamorous right now.
I like it.
So hopefully you got something from this. But
I did.
But you have to have compassion for people. You have to understand that we're all operating at a negative. And so often we get mad at somebody for operating at a negative. We get mad at them because they have bad attitude or whatnot. But we don't know any better. We genuinely don't know any better. And if we can sit with somebody and go, hey, look, I know you don't know any better, but try this.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's a willingness to receive and trust, and we can build that thing back. Bro, the future is incredibly bright. Right. But we have to kind of take the bull by the horns.
Yeah.
Because if I know that across the pond, literally 10% illiterate.
Yeah.
Well, I have to do something to fix that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to expect the education center to do it. I'm not going to expect the government to do it.
Nope.
We have to, as a community, involve ourselves, or we will lose our community.
Yep. I'm with you. I love you, buddy.
Love you too, man. Cut! Thank you for checking out the Cam and Joe Show.
If you guys are liking our content so far, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can also listen to us on Spotify.